Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel. My channel is all about spirituality, self-development, and self-awareness, right? So we tap into different topics regards to spirituality, right? Even the dark side of spirituality, okay? Like anything else in the world, there's going to be the dark and there's going to be a light concept, right? In everything in the world, it's going to be the darkness and it's going to be the light, okay? Now, remember my previous live, I mentioned about how this is the light universe, but we have what we call gift of choice, whereby a person can resonate more to the darkness or to the light, depending on you, right? Now, remember that the darkness associated with evilness because of our religion. Our Abrahamic religion speak about the devil and the darkness, okay? So that's because before there was religion, before there was Christianity per se, we were all pagans and practicing paganism practices across the globe in every continent. There was no official religions at that time, right? So when Islam and Christianity, said Abrahamic religions are rising up and having power, they then demonize all pagan practices and call it devil worship, call it satanic, right? Because remember that the concept of the devil is created by Christianity, right? It's created by Christianity, basically. The devil, Satan, Lucifer, and all those things, the fallen angels, it's all created by Christianity, okay? Now, for you to make people afraid of anything that seems to be dark or evil, okay, you need to now push an agenda, and that's what really happened. However, in my channel, I speak about all topics spiritual, okay? So let me give a disclaimer. This channel teaches left and right spirituality concepts, not only on about the right side. I'll explain what right hand spirituality is and what is left hand spirituality is all about, right? Remember that my channel is about self-mastery, right? Integrating your shadows, getting to know yourself and your inner power, right? It's all about that, developing yourself. Nothing here promotes anything about harmfulness or fear or unethical practices. I'm not here to promote fear, harm, or unethical practices. I'm here to educate, to talk and discuss issues that really involve people that are really interested in spirituality. So if you want to know more about spirituality, I'm not only going to talk about the light practices, I'm also going to talk about the dark practices that are actually being practiced in our spiritual communities across all communities globally, in America, in North America, South America, in Asia, in Africa, all parts of Africa. People are practicing dark and light spirituality, okay? So if you are awakening into your power and you want to learn more about the left hand practices safely, right, you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel, right? Because we're going to talk about these concepts now for the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk more about the dark and the light, the left hand and the right hand side of spirituality. Hi, sweetie pies. Thanks for joining my live. Hope you guys are doing well. Okay, so today we're talking about the left hand and the right hand sides of spirituality. In other words, light and dark spiritual practices, right? Basically, right? Now remember that firstly, the left hand or or versus the right hand part. Let's speak more about that. Try to get more clarity. The right hand part seeks unity, obedience, surrender, and spiritual purity, just like religions do, just like the Abrahamic religions do, right? But it's more about self-empowerment. Remember that there's no sin in spirituality. There's only choice, okay? However, the right hand part in spirituality is based on unity, obedience, surrender, and where as well as spiritual purity. This includes religions, angelic parts, and light-based healing traditions. Okay, what about that? It's about oneness and unity when it comes to the right part. Okay, and that's what I've been talking about all the while. And in most of the social, excuse me, social media platforms, with spirituality, most of them are light workers. They're on the right hand side. Okay, now the left hand part values independence, self deification, personal growth and personal truth, transformation, and inner strength. It's about power, inner power, right? Knowledge and enlightenment. The left hand side, the dark side of spirituality, right? It's all about independence, self deification, being the deity, making yourself a deity because you are a god, okay? Declaring that you're the god of your own life experience. You have the power over your life. That's what it simply means. Personal truth, finding your own personal truth, not taking somebody else's or the collective truth and making your own. Now, in the light side or the right hand side, it's about you aligning to what's there already. You understand? You now taking their concepts and they all follow one concept, right? But in the dark side, in the left hand side, it's different. You as an individual decide which is your truth to you. What is your truth? Your individual truth. That's why if you look at if you ever look at all the dark practitioners, they approach things differently. Not all of them approach their magic or their spiritual practice the same way, because they believe in autonomy. You decide which part you want to go, which deities you're going to use, which rituals you're going to use. You understand? Are you going to use blood magic, or you're going to just use elemental magic, or what are you going to do? You understand? It's your choice. Now, your inner strength as well. It's about inner strength, finding your inner strength and liberation from external authority. So normally people that follow the dark side, or those people that want, the ones who follow the authority, you know what I'm trying to say, they want to follow their own path, right? So neither the dark or the light is better. It's just a way of approaching spirituality, okay? Now remember that it's about knowledge and enlightenment. The dark side is also linked with knowledge and enlightenment, just a way the right side is also linked to acknowledgement and enlightenment. Having the knowledge and understanding and enlightenment, the more information you get, the more enlightened you are. So you're moving away fear. But it's a key concept when it comes to the left side. It's all about shadow work, embracing your shadow and integrating it into yourself. You understand? It's about removing the fear, those shadows, the dark sides of yourself. It's about removing that fear. Okay, so now we're going on to the next one, all right? So the right part, the RHP or right part, is about aligning with divinity or the divine. And then the left part is becoming one with your divinity, with your own specific divinity. Now look at the difference here, right? The right part or the RHP part is all about aligning with the divine, right? And the left hand part is about becoming your own divinity, becoming your own God, your own authority. But the light part is about aligning to the authority, to the divine. You understand? That's the difference. So the dark side or the left hand side is all about becoming one with your own divinity, becoming your God. You deify yourself. You become your own deity. You understand? And that is how it works. So for most people, we don't understand what it means, because we're told, okay, it's evil, it's dark, it's evil. No. Remember, as I said when I started with my life, right, that in religion, before there was religion, every single person across the globe was practicing a form of paganism. We are worshiping our ancestors. We were worshiping the earth. The week of speaking about the one God and stuff. We were worshiping our own pagan deities, whatever they look like, you understand? And then religion came and deemed them all evil and dark. You understand? And this is what happened. Okay, so now, what does the left-hand part mean by shadow integration? As I mentioned before, the left-hand part is very based on the shadow, removing the shadow, or actually removing the shadow from being hidden and integrating it, facing your wounds, understanding who you are and facing your wounds, confronting your fears. That's what the shadow, the dark side is all about. confronting your fears. That's why it's so scary to most people, because you need to confront your fears. Okay, understanding your desires and don't push them away. Don't alienate your desires, because you have desires. It's normal for us to have desires. So in the left hand side, you embrace your desires. Okay, you understand your desires. You don't deny them. Okay, and healing your trauma as well, which is quite interesting, because remember that even on the light side of things, okay, light workers also talk about healing your traumas. They talk about doing shadow work. That's the dark side of the light side practice. You understand? So this is what I got to understand, that the people or the practitioners practicing the left hand side of spirituality are actually doing something similar to the light side guys as well. The right hand side part. That's what they call them. Okay. So as I'm gonna repeat myself again. Okay, facing your wounds. The left hand part speaks about facing your wounds, confronting your fears, understanding your desires, embracing them and owning them, okay? Healing your traumas and owning your darkness. We all have darkness. Remember, this is a game of polarity, okay? There is light and there's darkness. There's no single person with total light. It's impossible for a person to have total light. If you're not Jesus Christ, you don't have total light, okay? Basically, you have the darkness within you. So why deny your darkness? Own it, get to understand it. Don't be afraid to explore it, but in a responsible way. That's the whole idea of the left-hand side. But you taking responsibility. It's not evil. You taking responsibility, owning your darkness, transforming your inner demons. Remember, we all have inner demons. We have inner fears. Sorry, somebody's trying to call. We have inner fears. So we all have these things, right? Our inner demons, our inner fears. You need to transform them to work for you. And don't run away from them. Don't have nightmares and stuff because you're afraid of yourself. And becoming a whole. So it's about you becoming whole. So the left hand part is becoming whole. It's not about evilness. You understand? It's about you becoming whole. Don't run away from your shadow, right? Don't suppress your shadow. You meet it, you understand it, and you proclaim the power of your shadow. You meet it, you understand it, and you proclaim the power of your shadow. Don't be afraid of who you are, because you're not only the light, we also have darkness within ourselves. It doesn't mean you're going to be wicked and you're going to do all evil things. No, you are owning yourself and being responsible. Okay, what is the left hand part in terms of witchcraft, in the craft? What it really means? It's not chaotic spells or painful magic. Remember that people in that study or practice the light or the right hand side also use painful magic spells and stuff like that. You understand? The real left hand part craft is all about psychology and plus your spirituality. Remember that psychology and spirituality speak to each other. You understand? So in the left hand part, the psychology and spirituality are working together. You're using deep self-awareness. You're getting to know yourself more. You're not running away from yourself because you're afraid to face your shadows, your inner demons. Okay, you're embracing everything. It's about empowerment, energetic mastery, mastering yourself with the intention on focus. Remember, I always speak about in my channel, I speak about mastering yourself with intention and focus. So in a way, I'm actually practicing gray magic, gray spirituality, because I'm combining both the darkness and the light together. Because with shadow work, I'm getting to know myself, and I encourage others that follow me on this channel, that subscribe to my channel, to understand themselves. Don't deny your darkness. Don't deny your shadows. You need to integrate it with intention and focus. It's self-mastery. Okay? Working with both celestial and infernal energies. Okay? So, celestial energies are basically those energies that the angels, archangels, all the good thing, all the good guys on the right hand side. Okay? So we use the angels, we use the guys, we use these archangels, right? We use all these other angelic beings, okay, in the right hand part and in the left hand part. But we also use the infernal energies, the dark energies, the 72 demons, as they call them, Solomon's demons that he has so-called has control over. I will speak about that a bit more later on in this live, right? So let's talk more, right? So working with both celestial and infernal energies, light energies and dark energies. You understand? Because remember, this is all about getting to know yourself and not running away from your dark side. Don't run away from the dark, but integrate it within yourself. Right? It's all about that, right? So let me continue. Becoming responsible of your own power. Remember, responsibility means I'm taking charge and ownership. I know what I'm doing and I'm being careful. I'm being wise. I'm not just doing things in a chaotic way, although I use chaos magic, but I'm taking ownership. I'm not denying my part that I'm playing. I understand the cause and effect, karma, when I'm using the left hand side. You understand? It's all about that. Some left hand part practitioners work with darker archetypes like infernal beings, as I mentioned earlier. Or not all left hand part practitioners will use the infernal beings, right? They will not all of them. Some will use Lucifer, although Lucifer is not one of the 72, but it is a dark archetypal energy, right? Lucifer, the fallen angel, most of them use Lucifer as well, right? But not all 72, basically, which is not part of where Lucifer actually falls under. Okay, so, but it doesn't make them evil, guys. It doesn't make them evil at all. Those being that represents your shadow forces, your inner strength, and your transformation. Remember that the left hand side is about shadow forces, for facing your shadows and your inner strength, and zoning into your inner strength and claiming your inner strength, and also transforming yourself so that you're able to get to be the God of your own life experience, not being led and controlled by outside forces. Okay, why do people feel called to go to the left hand side? Okay, why do people feel called to explore the left hand path? I'm one of the people, right? Basically, because when you get to understand more about the left hand path, you get to understand that it actually speaks into what's going on here, the duality of this world, right? But with us denying the left hand part and saying it's evil and suppressing it, we're actually causing more harm to the human archetypal energies, to the human consciousness, collective consciousness. Okay. People choose the left hand part because they are awakening from religious trauma. Number one. Number two, tired of giving away their power. Number three, going through shadow awakening. Number four, exploring intuitive gifts. Remember that you need, when you get to know, when you leave religious dogma and practices, you start learning more. Then now you want to embrace the darker side of things because you were actually told it's demonic. Now you want to know more. Remember that when you are in religion, especially in Christianity, you get afraid of the dark because somehow it's linked to Satan, the devil, the link to hell and all those things and destruction, right? However, guys, everything has a destructive atmosphere to it. Everything, even the lights itself, there's some destructive suppressings that they do there. You get my point? That kind of thing, right? So yeah, we're talking about awakening from your religious trauma. Number two, tired of giving away your power. Number three, going through shadow awakening. Now you awakening to your shadow. You're getting to understand about the shadows of life. They're not that in life, there's not only goodness and light and love, there's also other parts of it. Thanks for joining my live, guys. Today we're talking about the left hand side or the left hand part of spirituality versus the light part of spirituality, right? Remember, my channel is all about being responsible, but it's not about fear mongering, but it's about educating and learning. So if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, right? Because my channel we are exploring all concepts of spirituality, not only the light, not only the good things, not only like the light celestial beings, we're also exploring the darker side of spirituality, because remember that in this reality we have duality. We have the dark side and we have the light, Now, in my practices, I am more gray because I'm mixing the both two, the good parts that work for me, and then from the light side, and the good parts that work for me that I resonate with from the dark side. Because at the end of the day, remember that we are divine consciousness having a human experience. Okay, there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to spirituality. We should be studying these things and understanding them. Another thing that a person is looking for when they leave religion, right? Pause. Hello, hi there. These are Daniels. How are you doing, lovey? Guys, thank you for joining my live. Hi to every single person if I didn't greet you. Okay, now remember that the dark side also allows you to learn more about yourself and your shadows as well. Now you might be even craving to be authentic. You want to be more authentic. You're seeking spiritual depth. You need to understand more about spirituality, okay? You're becoming a sovereign being. You're becoming a sovereign being. You want to know more about your power. Now, the left-hand part teaches you a lot about your power. You understand? And then you're naturally psychic or you're empathic, like myself, right? Every single person is naturally psychic. Even myself, every single person, we all have gifts, all right? And drawn to transformation and freedom. You want transformation and freedom. So now you're going to go and learn more about the left-hand side. Remember I said that people choose or want to know more or go into the left-hand side or the left-hand part because number one, curiosity. Number one, you want to know more. Number two, awakening from religious trauma. Number three, tired of giving away your power. Number four, going through shadow awakening. Number five, exploring your intrusive gifts, exploring them more. You understand? Now you notice even you can connect to the dead. You can get messages from beings. Now you want to know more. You're more curious and you're craving to be authentic, right? And you're seeking spiritual depth as well. And you're becoming more of a sovereign being. You want to be sovereign. You understand? And you're naturally drawn to these type of things because you're psychic. Now you even feel you get messages from the other side, maybe dark beings. You want to know more. Are they really evil? What are they? You want to understand more. So remember that everything's out there for you to learn now. The left-hand part attracts people who are not afraid to face themselves fully. The left-hand part of spirituality attracts people who are not afraid to face themselves fully, like myself. I'm not afraid. There's nothing that fears me. I've been through a lot of things in my life, and I've seen some really dark things in my life, right? And I understand that, yes, there is darkness, and I need to learn more about it and understand what it is and how to even embrace it. Because when you understand something, you begin to embrace it. Not just that you believe and you do all those dark practices, but you understand that in this world there's the dark practices in the occult and there's the light practices in the occult, in spirituality, okay? So I'll go back and I'll give you my disclaimer for those people that just joined my live, right? This channel teaches both sides of spirituality, both the left part and the right part, for self-mastery, shadow work, and integration and inner power. Nothing here promotes harm, fear, or unethical practices, okay? Nothing in my channel promotes harm, fear, or unethical practices. This part of psychological, spiritual, and energetic empowerment. So my channel is about psychological, spiritual, and energetic empowerment. You need to understand that, right? So if this resonates with you, go ahead and then subscribe to my channel. Let me continue with my topic. Okay, I thought I would just put that out there, a disclaimer, right? I'm not pushing fear and I'm not encouraging people to do anything dark. I'm giving information from my level of understanding. You understand? And remember that across the globe, especially even in Africa, there are people practicing the light spirituality and then mixing it with dark practices, like banishing demons, like protection is also one of those painful practices as well. Now, same as with on the dark side, they are um, spiritual practitioners of the left hand side that are also adding or using some light magic, some of the light stuff. They they communicate with angelic beings and archangels in their practices as well, because you can use both however you understand. So it's not like I can only use this and then I cannot use that. No, it's not like that. Just remember that we have duality here. We have to here to grow and learn, okay. So let's continue. According to the left hand practices, what does it mean to abandon the light? This is the biggest misperception, as I said. You do not lose your light at all. You actually deepen your light, because now you are understanding that all these things are an expression of the divine. Because remember that God has a light and God also has a darkness. So you're not abandoning your light, you're actually more deepening it more, because you get to understand the total expression of reality in this world. You get to understand the total expression of reality. Remember my previous live, I mentioned about the darkness and the lights, and I specifically said that the light is more focused on divine consciousness, okay, and then the darkness is more focused on becoming its own authority. It separates itself from the light to become its own authority. People talk negative about themselves. It's really cringe and so disgusting. I really hate it. I understand what you mean, because you understand the consequences of speaking negative. Now remember that that's also practicing dark arts. When you're speaking negative about yourself, you're lowering your frequency. And the funniest thing, the people that talk negative about themselves are normally people that say they believe in Jesus, they believe in Christ consciousness, they are born again Christians. But you find that some of them are speaking very negative about themselves, because when they find themselves in a low space, they automatically speak negative things about themselves. And they don't see themselves overcoming the situation they find themselves in. They don't see the light. They're too depressed. Are you from South Africa? Yes, I am, Lavia. I am from South Africa. I'm from Durban. So I'm actually streaming now from Durban. So if you have not come across my channel as yet, go ahead and check my content. And you can subscribe to my channel as well and support me here as a South African as well on YouTube. We need more support as South Africans. We need to support each other on these type of platforms, right? So go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If spiritual development and spiritual awareness and self-development is what you are into, okay? So I'm talking about the darkness and the lights, the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So as I said, that is the biggest misperception here when it comes to spirituality, that when you start practicing and learning more about the left-hand path, you then now lose your light. You are a light being. You're only getting information. Remember that even if you are a light being and you are devoted Christian, you can still be evil. You can still hate on your brothers. You can still, like, skinnering and talking about people, badly about people. And I see that a lot in Christianity. When I was a Christian and actually attending church and being part of the whole thing, I saw a lot of darkness in that space that's supposed to be of light. I saw a lot of darkness. You see my point? As I'm trying to say, it's neither here or there. You need to understand that darkness is only an expression of life, expression of this universe. Because God created both life, light and dark, and He gives people permission and ability, you know what I mean, to express the darkness if they want to and explore it. But remember that you will always end up back to the light. You will always find your way back to God, back to the unity. After the separation, you will always end up going back there to God. That always happens, okay? So let us not be afraid of the darkness. The darkness is not something to be afraid of. You need to understand it. When you get to understand something, you are living more empowerment. That's why I'm saying that even if you understand the dark or the left part of spirituality and you learn about it, maybe even try and practice a bit of it, you understand, you get more power. You get more power, I tell you, and more understanding, because you get to see the totality, of being human. Remember that in a human plane, there is darkness, right? In the spiritual plane, there's also darkness and light. Same as in the human plane, there's darkness and light as well. Thank you for liking my live, guys. Okay, let me continue, right? So you do not lose your light. The left-hand path is not about becoming dark. right? It's about becoming whole. You're learning about the other spectrum, and you learn, and now you get to understand. You're becoming whole. Your light becomes more stronger. Because remember, your lights will always shine more bright on anything dark, basically. Okay. So your light becomes more stronger because you're no longer fragile and running away from the shadow and the darkness. Now you're bold and you're strong and you can now overcome all issues, all challenges, all problems. You now tested and now you're strong. Okay, explore the grape side of things. Now I mixed the two because I mean everybody's doing it unconsciously. Even so-called Christian people or the light spiritual practitioners are also dabbling a little bit in the darkness, using painful magic like protection and yeah, claiming your power back and all those things. That's all parts of the dark left-hand part of spirituality. Right, number 7. Is the left-hand part safe? A lot of people ask that question. Is it safe? Is it safe? Yes, it is safe. When you approach it with respect, grounding, ethics, understanding, and emotional maturity, same as with the light magic, you need to have respect. You need to be grounded. You need to have ethics and live your ethics when you are a light worker, same as when you are a dark worker, working with the left part of spirituality. And you need to have understanding. It's totally stupid to try and do something you don't understand, right? That's why I don't dabble in things, in spiritual things I don't understand. I first go do my research and I think about it and meditate upon it and I pray upon it, ask my guides, am I ready for this thing that I want to do? Do I feel ready? You don't just start doing dark magic. You don't do that. You don't understand it. You don't know what's the consequences of it. So why are you going to engage in it, right? You need to first have understanding. Remember that. You need respect. You need to ground yourself. You need to ground yourself. You need ethics. You need understanding. You need emotional maturity. And I'm thinking all these concepts, these requirements fall across all spiritual practices, both darkness and light. Because if you are a light practitioner, you don't have respect for others. You cannot serve your community. You cannot serve the world with your magic if you don't have respect, right? And you must have grounding. You must ground yourself because if you're too high frequency, you get spaced out. It's not good for you. You need to be grounded because remember that if you're too spaced out and you're not grounded, you also open yourself to low frequencies. That's why grounding is important. Own yourself, be safe. Your chakra, your first chakra, your base chakra must be strong. Your solar plexus needs to be strong. When you are a spiritual practitioner, you need to have strong sense of self. That's the grounding we're talking about, right? You need to feel safe here in this reality to practice both light and darkness, both the left hand or the right hand. You need to have that grounding, right? So let me continue. The danger is not the part, guys. The danger is ignorance, fear, and trying to rush into things without knowledge, as I said early on. The danger is not the part. The danger is your ignorance, your lack of knowledge, your fear. You trying to rush into things without knowledge and running away from yourself because you're running to face yourself. You're going to spirituality. That's why people run to religion because they don't feel safe in the world. They don't feel safe within themselves. They think that God of the Bible is going to answer all their prayers. They think that giving your life to Christ is going to solve all your problems. Doesn't work like that. You still own your own problems. Jesus doesn't own your problems. That blood covenant is not what they tell your guys it is, because your problem is going to be your problem. You need to face your problem. That strength, you still need to own your strength and solve your problems. Get up every morning and own your power and be the powerful grace that you are. You can't expect Jesus to do everything for you. You need to do it yourself. Same within the left part. You can't expect the dark entities or the deities to do things for you. You need to own your shit, own your life, own your magic, right? Own your authority, own your voice, own your vessel, or else you're not going to have a good experience here, even if you're following the left part or even the right part. You need to own yourself. It's all about ownership here, right? Play your game very well. So the danger is not in the part. I've seen this, guys. I've seen it, and I've lived Christian people who gave their life to Christ, living in turmoil, living in pain and frustration, yet they gave their life to Christ because they don't understand that the danger is not based on the fact that you are born again or you're not a born again. The danger is, are you facing your fears? Are you getting the knowledge and understanding you need? Are you learning knowledge that's going to help you as a born again Christian? Do you know your power? Are you able to solve your problems? Are you able to communicate very well? Are you able to take your power in that point? You understand? That's what it's all about. The danger is the ignorance, the fear, and trying to push into things without knowledge. You need to understand, even if you are a practicing Christian, you need to have the knowledge and understanding about the angels, about the Bible. You need to have that knowledge. Same with if you on the left hand side and you're following Lucifer or whatever. You need to understand what is Lucifer, what's his traits, and everything else, and what it is to be in the dark side of things. You need knowledge and understanding. Okay, now we need to understand that the left-hand part is not about darkness or being dark. It's about you owning yourself. It's about being real, accepting all parts of you, working and accepting all parts of you. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about integrating your shadow and not suppressing your shadows. It's about becoming the fullest and most authentic version of yourself. Right? Remember that. It's not about being dark. What is it being dark? Being upset all the time, hurting other people. Remember, guys, even in the dark left-hand side, you have to have a reason why you're doing certain things. You can't just go around hurting people. It doesn't make sense. There's order even on the left-hand side, and there's order on the right-hand side as well. So you need to know that it's not about that. It's about you owning yourself and taking responsibility of yourself, right? You, your total authority. You, your God. You, your deity. Right? How does a deity move around with authority but takes responsibility? That's the whole idea. You don't just do things and expect, okay, well, I'm just going to do it. No, you understand there's something called karma, and you must be willing to cope and accept the karma. It's all about that, right? So let's continue with other topics around this concept, okay, which is quite interesting, right? So let's define the left-hand part again for those that just came in through, right? Remember that we have the earth plane where we are, the realm of the earth, right, where we are, okay? And then we have the celestial kingdom, okay? We say it's above us, but it's not really above us, okay? We have the celestial kingdom, okay? Celestial, that's the light beings, right? And then we have the infernal beings at the bottom, which is the dark, the left-hand side beings. You understand? That's how it works. So we're in the middle. But now remember, being in the middle, we are actually being affected by both left and right. We've been affected by both left and right. Okay, so we're in the middle. If you look at like this, instead of like up and down, or let's look at like life is like this. We are here. The earth is here. Okay. On the left-hand side is the dark infernal kingdom, okay? And on the right-hand side, it's all the light beings, the celestial beings, okay? If you look at it that way. Okay, now let's continue. Becoming a god or being a self-identification, being a deity. That's what the left-hand part is about. Owning yourself, becoming your own god, being god-like in your own life experience. Doesn't that seem very familiar to what they teach people about manifesting? They teach people to be you your own God. You are your own creator. What does it mean that you are deifying yourself? You're saying that you are powerful. Okay, and people that are learning about manifesting, a lot of people that so-called follow the light part, but they're actually engaging in something which is very left-hand part side type of energy. You understand? As I said early on, that there's no right-hand part practitioner who does not use a little bit of the dark left-hand approaches in India spiritual practices. That's what I've seen. I've seen that clearly, right? So some people, we call them gray, people in the gray part. I'm one of those people because I use both. I understand that there's dark and there's light, and I'm okay with both. I'm not demonizing the dark, and neither am I running away from the light, because I know I'm from the light. I am part of the universe, or the universe of light, which is where we are now. This realm is universe of light. However, we're given opportunity to express and experiment with the dark energies as well. We're given that right to do so, but with responsibility. Remember, with responsibility, you need to own everything that you are doing in your life experience and not become the victim. Okay, so you also learn about breaking societal conditioning. It's about personal sovereignty. It's about shadow integration. It's about rebellion against imposed dogma. Now, people that follow the left-hand path, right? I said that, but it's about breaking social conditioning. It's about personal sovereignty. It's about shadow integration. It's about rebellion against imposed dogma. Okay, about empowerment through embracing both light and darkness. You need to embrace both light and darkness. Okay, traditions often linked to left-hand path as Luciferism, as I said, deifying Lucifer as a god. Okay, some forms of tantra as well, and chaos magic. Okay, some occult demological systems as well. Okay, like for example, learning about the 72 demons, right? That's Solomon's demons that he could control, right? That's what they're talking about there. It's quite interesting, right? They are no, they're not opposites. They're trying to say that the left hand side and the right hand part, right, are not opposites. They actually complement themselves. The left hand part, right, and the right hand part, they're not opposite, but they actually complement each other. Okay, they talk about that. They are not opposites, they complement each other. The RHP, or the right hand part, is unity, consciousness, devotion, and surrender and love. You don't surrender on the left hand side. It's not about surrender, and it's opposite. It's not love, it's about empowerment, right? So it's about being an individual, about empowered and self mastery. So there's three pillars of the left hand side that we're talking about here that they normally focus on: being an individual. Number one, so what about unity? You, the individual, your personal empowerment. Number two, and number three, your self mastery. Compared to the right hand part, which is speaking about consciousness, right? Devotion and surrender and love. It's about unity, consciousness. Sorry, devotion and surrender and love. All the nice things, which are quite good as well. I use that as well. I use the light and I use the darkness. Self-empowerment, me as individual, my development, because I understand when I develop myself and own my own power, I'm able to show up better in the world. Do you still consider yourself a Christian? No, I'm not a Christian, Lovey. I've never called myself a Christian ever since I started on social media. I'm not a Christian. I was before, and I believe in love and light, but I also believe that there's darkness in this world, and we can use the darkness to work for us as well. You understand? Remember that what Jesus said in the Bible, in the Christian Bible, because there's a lot of things I learned in Christianity which I still use now in my life. To accept every single person, to love your neighbor as they are. He associated with the so-called dark people, and he brought them closer to him, and made them feel love. I remember that a person can move away from darkness when they get to understand that there is love. So if you condemn the darkness, you're not giving it some expression or experience of light. So Jesus was all about bringing people in that needed the light, and speak to them and show them love and acceptance, not condemning them. You understand? I don't condemn the dark. It's people that have chosen to express that, to experience the darkness. It doesn't mean that they're not created by God. It doesn't mean they're condemned. It means that they need to find their way back to light. Now your shadow, your personal shadow, we all have a shadow, parts of us, right? Your personal shadow needs to have that light. You are the light. If you don't learn about the left hand side and how it works, you will only think there's only light in this world, and then you'll be suppressing and not owning your shadow. Your shadow is parts of you. Your shadow was there because of a trauma, maybe. It's a way of coping, a coping mechanism. It's the way you approached your trauma in life, and it was there to protect you. But it's a dark part of you that you may be ashamed of. Now, when there's shame, you actually expanding that darkness instead of you integrating it and shining light on that shadow You embrace yourself and you got nothing to be ashamed about. You reacted the way you reacted at that time because you were under attack, because you were being abused. So you've decided to, maybe, like, for example, a simple thing like overeating, bulimia. It's a shadow. It's a dark practice. It's a shadow, right? People start practicing bulimia because of a psychological trauma in their life. Maybe you were raped and you feel that um, your body is the reason why you were raped. So now what your body, because it's beautiful, it's attractive, it's a light. So let me shine darkness on it. Okay, so it won't attract people to come and attack me anymore and sexually abuse me. You understand? That's how it works. That's how it works. It's a form of protection. Now that's part of you need to own it. Okay, I have this habit of bringing up my food as bulimia. I eat, I binge, and then I bring up. I need to embrace that part because that's a part. It's a psychological disorder. Now remember that the psychologist can only help you so much. The rest is your work you put through. You need to own that part of yourself. That yes, I was a small child. I was helpless. I was raped. Whatever sort of maybe. I forgive the situation. I forgive myself because most victims of rape and abuse feel somehow that they actually caused it. They feel that somehow they the ones that caused the attack or the rape. Now that's a separation. It's a gap between your true self and that part of you that was hurt. So you need to pull that part of you that's hurt and embrace it and love it and forgive yourself and forgive the situation and forgive that person that raped or attacked you. You understand? It's all parts of shadow. All parts of shadow, guys. Now, when you start working and accepting, okay, this thing really happened to me, and I use this type of thing to maybe to protect myself. Maybe it's even anger, a simple thing like anger. Somebody who's very angry, very angry, and any small thing triggers them, and they're very angry in their relationships. It's always based on abuse and as a child. You were abused at home, your parents were abusing you, whatever sort of may be, and how you reacted angers you to protect yourself. People that are angry and people that are hurt. You understand? So that's now your shadow that you're now suppressing. You understand? Now you take it out of the closet, you bring it out, shine light on it, and you say, okay, this is what happened to me. I embrace this part. This anger is a useful thing that helps to protect me. Because when people see you angry, they keep away, right? They keep away. They just dismiss themselves from you. That's the way you were protecting yourself. Now you don't have to do that anymore. But because the subconscious mind doesn't know that, so every little situation, or arguments with a colleague, or arguments with your partner, road rage, triggers coming from societal traumas. People that react like that very violently on the roads are coming from violence in their homes, and then the violence is a way of you coping. Excuse me. It's a coping mechanism. You understand? Not people are not born bad, and there's no bad people really. There's bad actions, but not bad people. People use negative actions to protect themselves. You understand? That's what they're doing. They're not bad people. They're doing bad things, bad action because they fragmented. They hurt people. Healthy, excuse me, strong people don't go around raping people and having road rage. You understand? Anything triggers you because you're coming from a traumatized background. Your way of protecting yourself is to get angry. Your way of approaching life is to get angry because that's something that's your subconscious mind has been using as a coping mechanism. You understand? So people use different type of mechanisms. Now that's all your shadow. Those are all shadow parts. So it's important for us to know that there's not bad people. There's only bad actions. Actions that don't add value to that person or to society or even to the world. Okay. That's the big learning about spirituality, to understand that there's no bad people. There's bad situations, yes, or not so good situations because of the actions people are making. Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves love. No matter how bad you do are because you did bad things. This is what we do in the world. We connect the bad action to the person. Thank you. Somebody said they like my hair. Thank you, Koi. Thank you so much. That's dreads. Thank you so much. I like dreads. It's natural. And why do people church at Shembe? Okay, Shembe is very African. Okay, this is where Shembe, my understanding, I'm not totally um educated in terms of Shembe, but what I know and understand is Shembe is an African movement. And because of the fact that Christianity was introduced by the Western powers, okay? So what Shembe has done, it's an African person or family opened a church called Shembe to make it identify more with two black people. That's my understanding about Shembe. Something about the mountain and him doing miracles and all those things. I'm not really sure exactly the details, but it's coming from the fact that Christianity is a Christianity as we know it today, not what the people were practicing in Ethiopia. No, remember the people that practiced whatever they practiced in Ethiopia was not called Christianity. It was called something else. I don't know what it was, but Christianity as an animal as it is today, created by the Roman Catholic Church, was something that was brought in by the European powers, okay? Not by African powers, basically. So we need to understand that, right? I hope that was clear. If you need more information, if you want me to do a live on Shembe, I can go get some research and I give more information on, I make a live speaking about Shembe Church and African spirituality in terms of the modern way and the Christian concepts of religion and spirituality. Let me continue here. Okay, I'm going to the interesting parts now, right? I want to speak about the 72 demons, which is very interesting. Right now, there are no opposites, as I said. The right hand part is unity, consciousness, devotion, surrender, and love. And the left hand part is being individual, empowerment, and self mastery. If you take both these two sides and mingle them together, you find the whole totality of what it is to be a spiritual being. You embrace both parts, all parts of yourself. Okay, that's my opinion anyway. And then a truly balanced spiritual part integrates both, as I said. Light awareness and compassion is important. Shadow, personal power and boundaries, raw truth. Take the truth about yourself, even if you don't like it, even if you're ashamed of it. Don't be ashamed of your truth. Speak about it, own it. Don't be ashamed of your truth. That's what I like about the dark or the left hand side practitioners. They're not afraid of who they are to speak their truth, and not afraid to say that I have the power. I'm the God of my life experience. Now with the light part, oh my God, this is God. I cannot be equal to God. That's what the light part is about. That, but you are equal to God because you created from source. You are fragmentation. You are a spark of God. You are a small little piece of God that makes you God. That makes you equal to God, right? Doesn't mean that you must be disobedient in a way. That's another thing about human beings. We took God and we given God human qualities. We took God and given God human qualities. God doesn't have human qualities. God doesn't have anger. God doesn't have jealousy, and we put it in there to make ourselves understand this God. We gave this God, God of the Bible, God of Christianity, God of religion, God of the world. We gave this God this human qualities. No, the God that I understand, the one that I divine consciousness, the one that I believe in, the one that I recognize every day in my life, doesn't have human qualities. It's a consciousness that is impartial. It's neutral. It's an energy. It's a frequency. It's everything. It's in the grass. It's the grass. It's me. It's the food I eat. It's the water that are in the water bodies, in the oceans, in the rivers, the clouds. That's the God that I believe in. It's nature. It's everything. You understand? It doesn't have a human personality. Right, so let me continue here. When I get to the interesting part, I think you're going to find this very interesting. Right, so the left hand part doesn't mean abandoning the light. I mentioned that already, right? So I finished with this one. Yeah, so they made notes to keep me up. There's a lot of information that I came across when it came to the left hand part versus the right hand part of spirituality, right? A lot of information. So the left hand part is focused on individualism, self deification, breaking imposed limits, breaking those imposed limits, shadow integration, and personal sovereignty. Personal sovereignty is a practice ranging from philosophy and ritualistic practices. Okay, there's a philosophy and understanding, and then there's the ritual practices that they do in the left hand side. Same as the right hand side, there's a philosophy and the practice of ritual practices. The shadow work is very important, right? The shadow work and the ego integration practices of the left hand side. And I understand that even light workers use the same practices as shadow work, but they don't understand it's also part of the left hand side or the dark side of things. Okay, these inner practices focus on integrating your darkness rather than rejecting it, as I said. These inner practices focus on integrating your darkness instead of rejecting it. Shadow work and journaling. Haven't you heard that before? Light workers speak about shadow work and journaling. Light workers speak about shadow work and journaling. Integrating forbidden or rejected emotions. Integrating forbidden or rejected emotions important as well, right? Then working with trauma alchemy. Alchemizing your trauma. Working through it. Making the trauma work for you instead of work against you, okay? Working with your demonic inner archetypal energies like Lucifer and others, right? There's many of them, right? Embracing the ego as a tool instead of dissolving it. Embracing the ego. The ego is the tool. It's not your enemy. You can use your ego to make your life beautiful, right? You can use your ego to work for you, to help humanity and help yourself, okay? Inner alchemy of fear, anger, desire, and fear and jealousy. Now you're transmuting all these things and understand, why do I have fear? Right? Desire is not demonic. Desire is not demonic. Desire is what we need here to manifest. Whatever you want in your life, you first desire it, then you manifest it, right? Without desire, there cannot be new manifestation, new creation. Like, for example, when a woman and a man get married and want to get a baby, right? They have desire, they use sexual intercourse, to actually make that baby, to manifest that soul, to have a body, to come through the woman's womb and come on earth. You understand? Desire coming from your sacral chakra. Right now, self deification and identity magic. The core of the left hand part is becoming your own source of power. Remember that I said earlier on, because the left hand path is moving away with the darkness, it separates itself from light. It needs its own power. That's what they're talking about here, right? Which is quite interesting. It says here, because the left hand part is becoming, separates itself from light, it has to then generate its own source of power. How does it do that? Self-deification rituals. You are your God. You give yourself the power. You become the source of your power. You understand? You're not looking outside. You're not asking, oh my God, God, please help me, or this deity. You the powerful being. You understand? Self-deification rituals. You become your own deity, in other words, and you do rituals to actually acknowledge your deity status, that you're the God of your own reality. Invoking your light and your darker self. Invoking your light and your higher and your darker side. Let me just read this again. Invoking your higher, darker self. Now remember, when you were doing the light, you're invoking your higher, lighter self. When you're doing dark magic, or you're doing dark spirituality or the left hand path practices, you're invoking your dark higher self. You understand, that powerful self, which scares a lot of people, because we're taught that darkness is evil. It's not evil. Darkness is separation from the light. Look at it that way. Darkness is separation of the light. It doesn't mean it's evil. Right? So, claiming Godhood through mantra and sigils. If anybody know about sigils, I'll make a video. I will make a live speaking about sigils very soon. Okay? Mantra. So you're claiming your Godhood through mantra or sigils. Working with your divine names, your magical names, right? I still need to work on my ones. Actually, I was told to try and work on my ones. right, on my magical names as well, right, which are not my human identities, my spiritual names. Everybody has spiritual names, okay? Then asserting sovereignty over external forces, right? Inserting your sovereignty over external forces, not just accepting what people are saying, not accepting what people are saying about you, who you are. You understand? You don't accept what people are saying about you. You decide who you are. You understand now? Now you don't want to accept the external um opinion of who you are. You are divine. No matter who you are divine. You're born divine. You always will be divine. The question is, are you ready to claim your divinity? It's all about that, right? So, working with your divine names, which is quite interesting, and in asserting your sovereignty over external forces. Now, let's speak about demonic or infernal rituals. Firstly, I was told by my guides that the demons were not demons before religion came. A demon was only a god. It was a deity. It was a god. Okay, demons have been around long before Christianity, right? But what happened, as I said earlier in my life, when Christianity became Christianity from the 4th century, right? Remember that Jesus Christ was there around in the 1st century, he did his teachings, and his teachings were not called Christian teachings, right? He had his own, there was no name in the Bible for that, right? But it was not called Christianity. Then in the 4th century, the Greek Roman Empire decided, well, they want to unify the pagan practitioners or the worshippers and unify them with the other pagan practitioners as well as the Christian um, believers as well, the people that believe in Christ's teachings from the 1st century. He wanted to unify all these people who had different belief systems into one. So what he did, they took bits of every single thing from all the pagan practices and all the Jesus or teachings at the time, or Yeshua teachings at the time. Because remember, in the 1st century, it was not Jesus, it's Yeshua. The word or the name Jesus was brought in with the Roman Greek Christian teachings. You understand? That's how it works. So now they started demonizing everything that was not what they wanted. Like, for example, demons became demonic. They're not just gods now, they're just demons. A demon became a demon. You get my point? The way it was even spelled, it's not spelled the way it was spelled then, right? Because I think it's a Greek word, right? It's not even spelled the same, like Dea, right? D-M at the M, right? And we spell demons like Demon. But the old way of spelling it was different. And I think it's morphed and changed. But my guide told me that demons were not actually seen the same, right? And I went to go and Google and research because I always like to check, you understand, what I'm being told by my spiritual team and what is really going on in this reality. Because remember, there's 80% truth and 20% lies, right? So when you have a message from your higher self, guys, it can be a download, it can be a dream. In a dream, they can be talking to you. Get up in the morning and you can have this remembrance. You understand? There's a sweet spot between the dream world and awakening. I always get up with that memory when I'm in that sweet spot. That's when I remember exactly what they want me to remember. Normally, you don't remember the full dream in most cases. You remember the sweet spot, that thing that they want you to remember just before you get up in the morning, right? Just before you get up in the morning, there's a spot where you have these very interactive dream experience, right? That's what they want you to remember, to take into your day-to-day awake life, basically, right? That's what normally happens to me. And I was told about this, right? Even in my meditation, I was told to do research and then test the spirit always, because there's a lot of information out there. How does it make you feel? Does it resonate with you? That's how you get to understand what is the truth for you. You understand? Because remember, there's gonna be lies. There's 80% truth and 20% distraction, right? So as I was talking about the shared integration, okay, self identification or deitification, and identity magic. We're speaking about that, right? self-identification rituals, invoking your inner or higher dark side or dark self, right? Claiming your godhood through mantra and sigils, I've mentioned that. Working with your divine names, I mentioned that, and asserting your sovereignty over external forces, okay? And then I spoke about demonic or rituals, and I said that before Christianity, the demons were not actually evil, they were just gods, deities, okay? Working with beings from infernal or demonic planes, right? Or even Catholic has a Catholic Church, or the Catholic principles have their own demons as well, right? So evoking of demons like the Gautia, the 72 demons, or the Gautia demons, King Solomon's demons that he controlled or whatever, or used for his own magic, according to the grimoire. So it's a grimoire, right? It's a grimoire, but all the teachings of Solomon and his experience with the 72 demons, right, from the infernal kingdom. Very interesting. So all these things, you never get them in the Christian Bible, obviously. Even some of the Christian pastors, the lower ranked ones, don't understand this concept, right? They've never heard it before, right? But these things do exist, okay? So the Gautia, very interesting, with the 72 demons, right? Pacts of or agreements with infernal entities. If you want to, not every single person that is working on the left hand part are actually engaging with the 72 demons, right? Not every single practitioner of the dark is doing that. You understand? It depends on the person's intention as well, right? Now, infernal medication or meditation, contacting dark currencies, energies, frequencies, existences. They call them dark currencies, because everything's a currency, everything's a frequency, right? Like dark currencies, dark frequencies. Working with demonic kings like Belial, Lucifer, or Paimon. I know one of the many of the people that I follow actually do dabble with Belial, right? And Lucifer. A lot of people do dabble with Lucifer as well, from the left hand part of things, you understand? So, yeah. But it's nothing to be afraid of here. And they also use dark mirrors for spirit communication. I think I've seen this before, especially on the movies, even like in the African, on DSTV, the African magic films that they make. They talk a lot about like dark mirrors, how these dark practitioners communicate and see the future, see what's going on through mirrors. That's what they're talking about, right? Because the mirror is, remember, it's a portal. The mirror is a portal. So a dark mirror is what they use in the dark arts. You understand, right? So let's see. It's quite interesting. Then where am I now? And they use painful magic. As I said, painful magic is also used by light practitioners, right? Like, for example, binding and banishing enemies. Light practitioners on the right hand side also bind and banish enemies as well, right? Okay, so let's continue with what they do in according to the left hand side. They use hexes and curses. They use binding and banishing enemies. They use mirror box spells. They return to sender rituals, also used by the light practitioners as well. Return to sender rituals are also used by light practitioners as well, okay? Justice and retribution of magic. Justice and retribution magic. Interesting one, right? These are the things that we can go into and make more lives about, right? Energetic warfare, that's happening continuously. Energetic warfare happens all the time. Okay, energetic warfare happens all the time. The left-hand part does not shame these practices, right? Instead, they emphasize responsibility. You understand? So they're being responsible. You have to be responsible when you start doing like dark arts, because what you're doing is very powerful, right? So even if you get initiated, you need to understand the power that you're actually getting yourself aligned to. You need to be able to work through your fears and your shadows to master the dark side, just as with the light. You understand? Right? Let me continue. Now, chaos and personal magic is another thing that they also use. Chaos and personal magic power right now. creating your own rules rather than following the religious systems. A lot of people that leave the church dabble into these type of things. They leave that from the light to the darkness, straight to the darkness. They don't get to understand the middle part. Now, when people are traumatized by religion, right, and they leave the church, they go straight to demonic forces because they are so hurt and traumatized. They want total freedom. That's what happens. Okay. Now, when I left the church, I never got straight to dark forces. I went to the middle part. I need to understand more because I wasn't running away from myself. I wasn't running away from God because I still believe in God. I still believe that I'm divine consciousness, that I'm part of divine consciousness. I understand that I am the light. That I don't need a pastor to communicate with the divine. I can go straight to the divine. You understand? I don't need an intermediary person or system or institution anymore. Right? So I never leave the church because I'm afraid or I hate God. No. No, I never leave the church because of that. Now, most people leave the church because of the hurt and the pain and the trauma of their experience in the church. And they begin to ask, is there really a God? There's no God. How can there be a God when there's so much pain and trauma? You understand? Christians are inflicting so much pain and trauma. And then they go straight to the left part and they don't understand it. You understand? They don't understand. That's the problem. And then they come back to, after a while, they go back to and they find Jesus again. And then they start demonizing the left part. It's because they were not ready. They went in there when they were broken, totally broken, and not aware of who they are. You understand? They were going there for the wrong reasons, in other words. They were traumatized. They should have worked through their trauma. Understand that these leaders of their churches are not saints. They're not perfect people. They're not Jesus. You understand? They are actually running a business. When you understand these people are running a business, you understand it's all about the money. It's not about, okay, saving souls. There's no one to save. The whole idea of saving souls, I don't understand it. There's nothing to save. We are in the game to play the game. Every single person is going to learn when they're ready. I don't need to be saved. Right? I'm not lost. I'm not a sinner. And every single person is not lost and not a sinner. You understand? You decide how you're going to approach your spirituality. Okay, so when you leave the church and you want to go into now spirituality, you should first understand that what is it? There's different variations of spiritual practices. What is it? What can I practice? And why am I going into spirituality and moving away from religion? You have to be mature about it. You have to be mature about it's all about being mature, right? It's all about being mature. People talk negative. I read this one already. Just reading some notes here. If I missed out any questions, guys, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me questions, okay? And why do people? Okay, I see that shit about the Shembe story. Do you still consider yourself a Christian? I said, no, I'm not a Christian. But I am a loving being of the light. But I'm willing to go into the darkness because I need to shine light into something I don't understand. I'm willing to use dark practices as well. That's going to add value to me and bring life to me and help my community and the world. Right? I believe in love and light, yes. But I also understand there is darkness in this world and we need to embrace it. The light needs to shine on the darkness, not reject it, but to shine on it and to love every single person accordingly, right? To love every single person because we are love. And Jesus Christ in the Bible said, in the Christian Bible said that we need to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. He never said only love people that believe what you believe in. He never said that condemn other people that never don't believe in what you believe in. He never said that. There's nothing like that in the Bible. You understand? So, let me continue. So you can use chaos magic sigils. And there's something called an allegory. Okay, this is more deep into spirituality. Egoro, it's called a egregor. Sorry, it's called a egregor. I pronounced it wrong the first time. It's an egregor creation. Multiple people's thought forms. Basically, that's what it is. It's multiple people's thought forms, programmed thought forms, designed, right? And by for example, what would I call it? Jesus Christ is a thought form, right? The fact that he's not here anymore, but people think about Jesus Christ so much. They sing about him, they talk about him, they praise him. He's now what we call an energy. It is a egregor, an egregor. You understand? It's an energy, it's a thought form. It's a thought form that becomes powerful, right? And that thought form now is actually starts having its own life of its own. Same as Satan. Same thing with Satan. Nobody has seen Satan. People have this idea of what Satan looks like. Right? It's a thought form that now has created its own energy. You understand? Now its own consciousness. You understand? Very interesting. These are the things, the concept that you learn when it comes to the dark side of things on the left-hand side part. Okay. Working with personal saboteurs as well, and working with reality hacking and belief shifting. This is what these people are using, right? What practitioners of the left are actually practicing. Magic sigils, creating of egregores, as I said, working with personal saboteurs. We can create a saboteur, right? If you're interested in a saboteur, I can make a video on that. Just let me know, okay? If you are bold enough, go and research it yourself and find out what it is, okay? It's very groundbreaking to understand that energy is powerful, and energy, yeah, it's alive. Energy is alive and it's powerful. You can program energy. That's what a saboteur is, about programming an energy. Okay, and then reality hacking and belief shifting. We all know about reality hacking and belief shifting. When you are creating your own reality in your life, you know that's what they're talking about. Like how you can biologically hack your body. You can also hack reality, basically, which is very interesting. And then bone, what's it called? Blood and bone ancestral magic. Okay, now we're talking about things like the blood magic. We're talking about bone and graveyard rituals. We're talking about working with the dead. That's necromancy. This is all like dark practices, right? And then underworld deity veneration, like Hecate, right? Now, one of my deities is Hecate, right? She's divine feminine. The other one is Isis, and the other one is Oshun, right? These are representations or archetypal energies of feminine energies, right? I don't pray to these beings. There's no need to, but I recognize them and I tune into their energies for my own life experience. That's how it is. You understand? Not all left-hand side practitioners or part practitioners or use blood. It depends on the rituals or the paths that they follow. As I said, if you look at Crowley and his descendants, people that follow him, use a lot of blood and stuff like that. Very dark practices that they use, using on the left-hand part of spirituality, right? And in ritual pathways and Gnostic descendants, explore in and outer dark realms. That's what they do, right? Exploring this in and outer dark realms all the time. She's got a bit brighter now because like the sun came out. Okay, so that is page number 9. Okay, number 9, right? So the abyss initiation, which is quite interesting. I want to get more and learn more about the abyss. Now the abyss, in my understanding, in my small little understanding of what the abyss is. Okay, in your awakening state, before you become awakened, you have your mundane self, right? Now the abyss is that gap between your awakening self and your higher self, your awakened self. Sorry. Okay, let me just explain that again. Okay, your mundane self, and then the abyss, that experience that experience you have before you become an awakening being, fully sovereign being, right? When you awake to yourself, it speaks about things like the tree of life, the Kabbalah, and how we evolve ourselves to become awakening beings. Now, the abyss practices is based on that. The energetic void between your known self and your higher self, in other words, as I tried to explain earlier on. The abyss initiation, sorry, crossing the abyss, getting to become your higher self, you must cross that abyss. So this is what they practice in the left-hand side. People are seriously wanting to become powerful beings within, you know what I'm trying to say, not to rule and control other people, but to live your life with empowerment, being able to command nature, in other words, command your life. You understand? That's what's all about there. It's not about you controlling others, it's about you mastering your own life. Now, remember that there's a tree of life and there's also a tree of death. This is what really shocked me, right? Because I didn't know about this, but there's a tree of death as well in the left-hand side part, right? Just as there is a tree of life on the right hand part, there's a tree of death on the left hand part, right? Called the qualipotic, the qualipotic parts working, they call it. Qualipotic path working, the tree of death. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and do your research on it. Very interesting concepts, right? Remember that everything, if you want to know something, don't be afraid, because fear is what's going to cause you to manifest negative things aligned to what you're afraid, fearful about. Don't be afraid. This is only knowledge. It's only information. It's neutral information. You get to learn these things, and then you get to see if they resonate with you. You understand? If you say everything is demonic, then everything's going to be demonic. If you say everything's going to be scary, it's going to be scary. You decide how you're going to see things, okay? Now remember that a strong, powerful, spiritual person is not afraid of things. You know yourself. You know that nothing can touch you. Once you know you have the power and you have the protection, because we are protected. Each and every single person has protection. Spiritual guides. We downplay it by taking ourselves to negative places and thinking negative thoughts and focusing on the negative things. That's what happens. Even people in Christianity, how they get depressed, how they open themselves to lower frequencies, to be possessed because of what they are doing, their practices. Same as when you follow the left path. Same concept, okay? You are always protected. You're always protected and guided. The question is, are you listening to your guidance, or are you practicing the right things for you to stay clear from low frequency thoughts and experiences? Now, number 8, sovereignty and anti-dogma philosophy. The left path is not just a technique, it's a mindset. Now, the left path is not just a technique or has techniques, also a mindset change. Rejecting external authority, owning yourself, non-conformity as spiritual discipline, non-conformity as a spiritual discipline, understanding something before you conform to it. Get to understand, does this resonate to me and my belief system? Okay. Moral relativism, ethics based on personal truth. That's what it means. Ethics based on personal truth. Remember that ethics in the world change every 100 years or so. What seemed or deemed to be respectful now and right was not the same 100 years ago. You understand? So ethics is continuously evolving. As human beings, our ethics change whenever we see fit to change. Yeah, remember that. How now we have women doing BBLs and doing boob jobs and walking around half naked. That was not so 100 years ago. It wasn't acceptable, right? Now we have people putting tattoos all over themselves. 100 years ago, it was not acceptable. It was only done for cultural reasons. Now it's a fashion statement. You understand? Now it's a fashion statement. Another example is the gays and lesbian, being an open, non-binary person was not something acceptable 100 years. Now it is. It is acceptable now. Now we have even gay rights, something that was not there 100 years ago. So I'm trying to say that our morality keeps on changing. Look at your morality now in Christianity, if you are Christian, right? Look at the morality now. How was it 100 years ago? Was it the same? Or does it speak to your society? Because this is what's going on. The churches and the religious morality is not changing, but the societal morality is changing because the world is changing. It's evolving, right? So I'm about to now finish my live. Actually, I'm over my 1 hour period, which is the first time I've actually had such a long live, right? I will be making shorts of this teaching, this live, right? For those that want to go and check it and just review what I said about the left part versus the right part. All right, remember that. So if you have not subscribed to me, go ahead, and subscribe to my channel. If you have not subscribed to my channel is about spirituality, it's about awareness, it's about being responsible and owning your own life. I'm looking at all things here. I'm not afraid of anything, right? It's all about me learning. And I will share my learnings with you guys as well, right? Because there are people who need that information. So if it doesn't resonate with you, it's okay. If it does resonate with you, then thank you. Then you can take it. You can either learn more about it. I'm not saying you need to believe what I'm believing. What I'm saying is this is the information I came across. What do you think about it? It's a real thing, right? It's a left-hand part and it's a right-hand part. Left-hand part in spirituality and the right-hand part. The right-hand part is light and love, right? Left-hand part is empowerment, owning yourself, and also, not being led. It's about you being an individual, empowered person in your life experience. That's what the left-hand part is all about, right? So I'm about to close off. So I would like to close with the fact that, okay, um, spirituality it's an experience, it's a practice. It's not just what you believe in, you also experience it, you practice it. Remember, they say that knowledge is not powerful if you're not using that knowledge, right? Information, if you don't act on it and you believe in it, then you really don't believe in it because you're not acting on it. That's what they're trying to say, right? It's all about that. So in summary, the left-hand powers, or the left-hand part, empowers through integrating sovereignty and also shadow mastery, mastering your shadow. So yeah, you're going to learn about integration, sovereignty, and shadow mastery, often using infernal or chaotic forces. Infernal forces, or the infernal kingdom I spoke about earlier. Remember, I spoke about the celestial kingdom and the infernal kingdom. The infernal kingdom is involving the 72 demons, right? Okay, the fallen angels, as some of them are known as the fallen angels. The right part empowers through alignment, surrender, devotion. In the left-hand part, you don't align yourself, you don't surrender, and you're not devoting to anything. You are a sovereign being, and you're working on your shadows to master your shadows, and you're integrating both the light and the darkness together. The lightness, the love that you have within yourself, and also you get to understand there's something called the darkness, all right? Both parts are complementary in terms of spiritual evolution, depending on personal and purpose and stage of awakening, right? Now, not every single person will be ready to dabble in the left-hand part and learn about and get to understand it. Not every single person is ready for that, right? Because people are told that the darkness or the light, the left-hand side is evil, but it's not. It's about you being true to yourself, understanding yourself. Now, let's look at the aspects. The goal here, the left-hand side goal is self-sovereignty and deification and empowerment. The right-hand part is about union and divine alignment and enlightenment, which is all the good stuff we always hear about, right? And then the shadow of the left-hand side is embraced and integrated. Then in the right-hand side, the shadow is avoided for some purposes, avoided or purified. And then authority on the left-hand side, self as divine, you are your own authority. On the right-hand side, an external divine higher power guides you. See my point, what I'm talking about here. The key difference with the light and darkness practices, the left-hand and the right-hand part, is number one. The left-hand part is self-divine, and the right-hand part is external divine higher power that controls you. You surrender to the higher power. With the left-hand part, you are the divine power. You are as equal as God, in other words. And this, people will call it, oh, well, you're being sinful, whatever the story may be. But that's another story for another day, right? It's all about that. I'm just giving you all information as my understanding. Then magic, in terms of the left-hand side, they use chaos, infernal magic, right? The infernal beings, right? And personal and painful magic. And then the other right-hand side use an angelic, healing, devotional, and protection. Am I right? Yeah, protection. I remember protection is also painful magic. Like banishing is painful as well. So indirectly, the people who follow the right-hand path are also using a bit of the darkness as well, right? The dark practices, right? And then what about philosophy? The right-hand path anti-dogma, more or moral relativism, which is quite interesting. Moral relativism, what's real to you? You're not following the crowds. What is more morally true to you, not what's morally true to the collective. What's morally true to you. So they're very individual. People from the left-hand side, okay, what is good for me, what I believe is true to me. What path should I follow? Not what Jesus or Christ consciousness is telling you, things like that. It's about you taking that ownership in terms of the left-hand side. No dogma, it's anti-dogma and moral relativism, meaning what's morally relative to you. Right, then on the right hand side, ethical codes and moral obedience, 10 commandments and all their things, right? The right hand side believes in that when it comes, that's their philosophy, okay? And then approaching to power. With the left hand side, you claim it and you own it, it's your power. You are the powerful being, you are your own deity, okay? And on the right hand side, you receive it and you channel it. You receive the authority from God, Jesus, and then you channel it. Right, you're still submissive. The left hand side, you're not submissive, even to the so-called 72 demons. You're not submissive. Those, I'll make an interesting live, and I'll talk specifically about the Gausha, right? The Gausha, which is quite interesting as well, right? Then fear, the dark side or the left hand side, you confront your fears, and then the right hand side practitioners transcend through devotion. They devote themselves to Christ, to Buddha, to Allah. But the left hand side confront their fear and they master it and overcome their fears. So in summary, as I said, the left hand powers through integration, sovereignty, and shadow mastery. The right hand powers is all about, or the right hand path powers, it's about through alignment, surrender, and devotion. You see the difference, yeah. It's quite interesting to understand the left hand path and then understand the right hand path and how they talk to each other and how the left hand path has been demonized. You understand, because of our religions. Quite interesting. So as I said, if you have not as yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel, right? My channel is about spirituality and self-development. If you're interested in self-development and spirituality and learning different concepts about spirituality, like demons, about growth and development, about how you can become a better person, about manifesting, creating a better life. Remember that spirit is everything, and everything is energy. Everything is energy. You are a human, yes, but you are spirit having a human experience. You are divine consciousness who brought itself down and minimized itself to live in a body. But don't forget that you are spirit. You are divine. You are created in the image of divine creator, source. Not the God of the Bible, guys. Source. That's what you created. You created in the image of source, of divine consciousness. You have gift you have not even found out yet and zoned in as yet. You have those gifts and are ready for you to awake from your sleep. Okay, so go ahead, guys, and have a wonderful Saturday. I will make another live tomorrow. Okay, and I'll talk more in depth about maybe the Gausia as well. I'll speak about that as well. The 72 demons tomorrow. I'll try and see if I can get that information and we can speak about it, right? So have a great Saturday further, and remember to be kind and loving, but also to own yourself. Don't compromise who you are for other people. Own yourself, but also be respectful and kind and loving as well, okay? Have a great weekend or Saturday further, guys. See you tomorrow. Okay, there's 130 minutes.